Hi, everyone. I'm Barbara Shor, veterinarian, and today we're going to have a nice conversation with my dear friend Linda Bender, who is also a veterinarian, also a great animal lover, and a beautiful person. And we've known each other for quite a few years. So here's Linda. And Linda, would you like to start off and tell us a bit about yourself and about this group?
Thank you, Barbara, dear friend and colleague and fellow mischief maker on the path to help animals and people. Yes, I'm also a veterinarian and a lifelong animal lover. And a little about me, what I'd like to share is as far back as I can remember, animals taught me basically everything I knew as a child about love. And on many occasions, growing up in a family in New Jersey, I would have all sorts of animals that would come and find their way to my back door needing help. And so I pitched in as best I could. My father was a great advocate, and I tried my best to help animals. And what I learned in those very young years out helping wildlife and nature and an occasional little kitten that came by was the interconnectedness of all life. It's what I learned from every single animal that crossed my path. And there's a story I often share about how that came about even with just sitting in nature. I would sit with the birds, and there was a little dogwood tree in my parents' backyard. And I would often sit and just listen to the birds singing. And I remember on one occasion, this became so beautiful to me and so intense that I felt I lost the duality, that we became one, where I ended and the bird began. Just it was just a magical experience. And so there were no words, nobody talking about this. It was just my reality. I was almost imprinted by the animals. So, as would be inevitable, I ended up becoming a veterinarian. And what I learned as I began to practice was that the interconnectedness, the love, and the compassion that the animals taught me as a young girl, I noticed that that was an integral part of the healing process. But I didn't see anything like that being taught or introduced in my veterinary studies or in practice. And my heart was really not in a small animal, being a small animal practitioner. And as life had it, I ended up being overseas, working with wildlife in many different situations. And I expanded out my environmental concern. And I also, in treating the wildlife out, particularly in Asia, worked and lived in Asia, in Africa, several other countries. What I learned from my own experience was that being a person who was so compassionate, uh, so empathic, so sensitive, and so caring for animals took a serious toll on my emotional, my physical, and my spiritual health. What I found happened is that I realized after a few incidences when I just gave up, I was compassion overload, I was distressed, I was anxiety riddled. I thought, I don't want to live in this world. What I needed to do was go back to those early days, find my spirituality. That's where I found my strength, going inward, that I was not going to find uh, courage, strength outside. Particularly, I wasn't going to find it in how animals, whether I saved them, whether they didn't survive, outside expectations weren't going to do it. So what I really, really feel strongly about is that the spiritual journey is primary. And I share this. There was also recently a study done, and it showed that over 70% of people in America have some identification with what they call spiritual, not necessarily religious, but spiritual. So I believe that we're all, most all of us, particularly those who are sensitive and compassionate, are craving at this point in our history something more. And it heals us, it helps us. And so many distressed veterinarians, animal caregivers really need some help. And from the statistics I learned, what I really want to share with people is what has helped me over the years. And in helping us, animal caregivers, in helping all people, it helps the animals, because I started out only thinking I just want to help animals. But no, we have to help each other. We have to help one another as friends, companions, colleagues, um, because we all want to make a difference. And so overwhelm, feelings of not enough, am I making a difference? The overwhelming sadness and frustration in the world and in our profession. I would really like to share specific ways that I have learned that have helped me. And I know, Barbara, you relate to this uh,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
much.
Yeah, and as I'm listening to you, it's also true. And I keep thinking that it's not just spirituality that people are craving right now, but also authenticity and
Yes,
integrity.
yes.
And that's sometimes hard to find in a really busy, crazy world. So I think that's another thing we can offer, you know?
Yes, yes. Ways to go forward, ways that help. And you and I are in that particular position where we've been there. We've been there, done that. We've experienced so many of these things that um, our wisdom, it's really wisdom at this point that I know you and I really wish to help. And that's really my passion, you know.
Yeah. Wisdom and experience, or wisdom gained from experience. But
Yes,
also, I would say that, instead of just wisdom, you and I are pretty open people. And so it's not like we're locked into a certain way of looking at things. We're pretty open to possibilities and
yes,
what could be, and maybe helping people explore those options too.
yes. And how actually, because we're growing personally, we're growing professionally, and we're growing spiritually. We're growing in all facets of our lives. It's not as though our spiritual journey or we're in categories. We want to integrate everything, and how we can also not have to live up to everyone else's expectations in this world. And again, that's both professionally, personally, and are we enough? For so many years I struggled, and I know you as well. We're uh kindred spirits on this. Are we enough? Are we making a difference? um and that's a tough one when
Yeah,
things go wrong. It's easy to feel good when things go right, but when you're living your purpose and you're caring and you're working to your best, you got to know that's enough and that outcomes aren't always what we hope for.
yeah, yeah. So it's
Yeah.
great that we can support people in that, and I know you are completely driven and committed to helping others. I know that's true, so I completely relate to everything you've said.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm wondering if there's anything in particular that you'd like to say to people before we close this.
Well, there are two things. And number one, it's without going into the whole quote, I'm thinking of a quote by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, and what she talked about is that, you know, beautiful people, courageous people, strong people don't just come from nowhere. They're people who've been damaged, who've been broken, who've fallen, who've been depressed, and yet they find a way forward. And instead of being broken, it makes them stronger. And that's really the main point of what I would like to help people with. So, specifically, what and I know the rest of us want to share is what ways how we transform what could possibly break us and distress us and cut short our passions into getting us to a stronger, better person who shows up as the best we can be and transforming not only ourselves and our friends, but making a real difference in the world.
Yeah.
So I hope to help people in that regard and have a
Thank
lot of
you.
fun too. Have some
Fun.
fun too.
Yes, we want to have fun. Us girls want to have
We want
fun.
to have fun.
Thank you so much, Linda. That was beautiful, and I'm honored to call you my friend.
Oh, thank you, Barbara. I am dear, dear friend. I love you very much.
I
Take care.
love you too. Thank you, Linda. Bye, everyone. Hope you enjoyed this.